Let's travel back to May of 2023 and talk about the things that I purchased that month and reflect on that. Well, I should acknowledge that I did not do one of these in April because I actually did not buy any makeup in April of last year, which is like pretty cool. I don't know the last time there was a whole month where I didn't buy makeup before my no buy. So, and it kind of happened like organically. I just think that like nothing interested me. Like must have been no new releases. Last year I didn't really like budget hardcore. I just was like kind of very loosely keeping track of what I had been purchasing. This year I'm not really budgeting, but I am keeping track of how much I'm spending specifically because of taxes and stuff like so spreadsheets. There are so many spreadsheets. But last year I wasn't like as good at keeping track about that and then my account was like, "But why? I don't know what I'm doing. Help me." Last May, I spent a lot of money. So you may remember at the end of summer last year, or sometime in the summer of last year, I posted a video where I did like a first impressions review situation of Makeup Forever. And there was like a pre-recorded intro that happened before that where I was like, I bought all this stuff like a couple months ago, and then the brand decided to essentially rebrand. Now, Makeup Forever had been rebranding for a while, but not as much as they did whenever I literally bought a bunch of stuff full price. Well, not full price. I have like a pro discount with them. Also, like I was buying product that was about to be outdated. And for a review, that's not so useful. And I don't always base what I purchase on reviews, but when I'm doing a brand review, it is very important that the products that I review, at least for hopefully months to a year, still exist after I talk about them. But what happened was very slowly over the few months I was trying to secretly review those products, Makeup Forever was rebranding and reformulating a bunch of stuff. I think they got rid of the Reboot foundation, which was in that group of stuff. Their blushes reformulated, their eyeshadows reformulated. And like I had some of the newer stuff, but like it was a lot of the stuff that I had reviewed was reformulated after I purchased it, which was pretty frustrating. So here's like what I remember buying. I don't have a detailed list of what I bought from thing to thing. If you're interested in seeing how that went, I don't know why you would want to because I don't think there's much that's not outdated in that video. I will link it over here for you. And then I did a follow-up video a few months, like a couple weeks later, where I was just like, okay, here's like my final reviews on these things, but it doesn't really matter. And a bunch of people were very kind in trying to get Makeup Forever to like reach out and send me stuff, but they never did, and that's okay. It was just like a very unfortunate bit of timing that occurred, which was like a pretty big bummer. Some of the highlights were the Reboot foundation, which I really liked. It wasn't something special enough for me to keep for very long. I think I did keep it out of that stuff, but I feel like it very quickly got bumped from my like 5 foundations because what was going on for a while is that the 5 foundations that were like in rotation kind of all served the same purpose. So I like light coverage blurring foundations, and I feel like I had the Dewdrop foundation, which is like my favorite version of that. And then I had like a bunch of other foundations that served that purpose too, the Reboot foundation being one of them. And again, I don't always make my decisions based on like reviews or like whether you can buy them. I use a lot of discontinued products on my channel. I use a lot of limited edition stuff too. It's not all about whether or not I think you should buy it. It's not all about you using my affiliate links. The nature of my channel is that I want you to use your makeup, and a lot of us own limited edition stuff. A lot of us own stuff brands no longer make. And I think all of that makeup is still worth not only talking about, but using on our faces. So that's something that I like to do and try to promote here. Sometimes that's what a full face of makeup will look like for me, is just like a bunch of stuff that's no longer made. And more often than not, more recently, is like a lot of stuff I've received in PR because I'm like testing it and such. But I don't base my keeping makeup on that always. But I do think like it does factor in sometimes, right? So it's like I have this foundation, which I think is really great, but no one can buy it anymore, which is like, a bit of a bummer. Or they might not be able to buy it soon. And then it just turns into like, well, it's not really worth my time keeping around for like myself because it's not my favorite version of this foundation. My foundation collection now, I try to be a little more varied. I'm not saying I'm the best at it. I have, my Dewdrop foundation, which is like light coverage blurring. Now I have like a full coverage foundation that I like to wear sometimes. And then I have a couple skin tints, but that's like what I'm wearing the most outside of the realm of YouTube. And then I have the Prada foundation, which I have on today, and like it somehow always beats out other foundations, whether or not I keep it. I don't know how that keeps happening because I just think it's like a perfectly fine foundation, but it's also like perfectly fine in the way where it's like reliable too. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about in this video. I remember trying the eyeshadows, which I remember like liking, but like also it was kind of like a non-event, because I think something that happens with Makeup Forever is like, is it or is it not a brand for makeup artists? A lot of what they do seems to be geared toward makeup artists. So like buying single shadows that are magnetic, and then you can use their magnetic system or you can use any magnetic system, which is like, I think, the best way for a makeup brand to do that if they're gonna be a professional makeup brand. And then like they have their like they have their foundation, they have like some other variants of the foundation, but like I don't know, it just feels like pretty confusing overall to me when it comes to like their branding. But out of all the things I tried, there is one thing that still remains in my collection, and I think they still make this, at least I hope they do. I know that whenever I was talking about it, some people said that this shade wasn't available anymore, but like I'm still able to link it all the time. And it is the Artist Color Pencil in the shade Endless Cacao. And I don't always use a lip liner, but I actually really like this one because it's a cool toned brown. And a lot of the lips that I tend to wear are browns, but a lot of them also are neutral or cool leaning. And I feel like it's cool toned, but it's not so cool toned where it's like, it looks weird if I wear it with a neutral lip color. I wouldn't wear it with like a warm lip color, but I'm also not one to really wear like a lot of ruddy lips. So it works really well for me. And I also think the formula is really great. And I love that it's a sharpenable pencil. I think that is the best when it comes to eyeliners and lip liners. Just my preference. You can disagree. Some people really like that retractable nonsense, but it's like that's like not my favorite. That's not where I live in this world. The other thing I like about this is that it comes in a bunch of different colors, and it's like one of those cult classic things. I have a feeling that whenever I think of Makeup Forever, I'm not really sure always what keeps them in business, because you have to think about that, right? Like what keeps some brands in business, because the thing that's most important whenever you're talking about that is like things that have to be repurchased a lot. Now, some people go through lip liner or eyeliner in a couple of months. That's not me. This has been around for over a year at this point, and like I'm not even halfway done with it. It could be me complete, but I also have like a larger makeup collection. But everyone has to regularly repurchase like mascara and sometimes like skincare things and like foundations. Like those are things that are like high repurchases. And I just feel like anymore, I don't feel like anyone's favorite foundation is the Makeup Forever foundations. I know that people have been liking the Hydra Glow a little bit more, but like, no, I feel like the other version of that people don't really love. It's not for everyone, and that's okay. But it's just like, but what is keeping them afloat? Because I find a lot of their skin stuff like didn't really wow me. I did kind of like their green color corrector when I tried it, the color correcting primer, but it also smelled really weird. And that's actually a thing that comes up a lot in their makeup, is like the smell of it. I don't feel like they're ever like truly scenting things to smell like things like a luxury brand does. Like luxury brands are like, this is our signature fragrance in our makeup. Makeup Forever makeup just always kind of smells a little funky, and that green color corrector smelled funky. It worked for me. I thought it was like pretty nice. I understand like why people might like that, because it was like a nice little bit of color correcting, but it didn't feel like an extra step like a green color corrector does for me, because like green color corrector, like to pull out a color corrector to purposefully use, feels like I'm wearing more makeup than I've ever worn in my whole life. Like that's how it feels whenever I pull out a green color corrector. While I'm talking about all of this, what I really do these videos for is to reflect on whether or not I think something is a good purchase. And I don't think that was a good purchase, but I didn't have control over that. Like I said, I don't think the brand was like out to get me specifically. My review was basically a moot point before it even came out, because of how the brand reformulated so many of the things that I tried. Now, some of the stuff I tried was definitely like already in the new formulation, but like a lot of what I tried wasn't. It being a self-funded brand review means that like that was like $300+ where I bought like a full line of makeup. The return on investment was not very good. And that's not to say that any full brand review that I have done self-funded has come back to me in my review. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. For that to happen, I would have to get tens of thousands of views on my videos, and I just don't get that at this time. And I also knew that Makeup Forever wasn't going to be for everyone, because I don't always want to explore the most popular things, because I also want to find like the good stuff, maybe where we're not looking sometimes when I do the brand reviews. All that being said, I can't say I regret it. Like I just couldn't have known. A lot of the times when I do these videos and I'm reflecting on my purchases, it's less associated with like being able to purchase it, or like the value of that makeup as a reviewer doesn't often come into play. Sometimes I think about it, and sometimes I definitely buy things to review. But even when I'm buying something to review, I'm still trying to be picky about what I'm choosing to review. And that's not because I want to only have positive reviews, but I still want to do some vetting and some thoughtful purchasing when I'm buying things to review. Like, I hope that when I buy something I like it. But I try really hard to avoid buying things that I don't think will work for me just because of hype or things like that. And I don't feel like this Makeup Forever purchase was like me falling victim to that, or me falling victim to the other things that I tried to avoid. I didn't pull the trigger very quickly. I actually thought about doing that brand for a while before I decided to make the decision to do a full face of Makeup Forever to do review. Like, I thought about, because my whole thing was like, what is going on with this brand? Is there anything here that's worth checking out that we're not talking about already? I don't think when I bought all that stuff and when I was reviewing it, that I made a mistake. But I can't help but feel some kind of way about that purchase. You know, $300+ worth of makeup that most of it I don't have in my collection anymore, and most of it was like mostly mid, and a lot of it got reformulated. And like, I understand as a content creator, not everything I can do is going to be evergreen. In fact, most of what we do as content creators is topical unless we go outside of talking about new makeup, which I obviously like try to do. Making dead in the water content, or like having something that you know is going to be dead in the water whenever you release it, is like, it's a big bummer. It's tough to bounce back and feel motivated after that. I feel like in the video where I did my final reviews on all of those products, like, the defeat was in my eyes, the defeat was in my voice, the defeat was like in my demeanor over that. What I will say is, kind of congruently, I got like a full face of makeup in PR from Surratt, which I also was kind of reviewing while I was trying all of the stuff from Makeup Forever. And that did help. Like, I will say, like, that was very helpful to like have something where I was like, okay, this is gonna be something. And like, you know, I have seen the benefits of that. I have seen very nary a benefit from doing a video on Makeup Forever. Okay. I think that's where I have to wrap it up. I've been talking a lot. This one was definitely like, I had to be more reflective as a content creator as opposed to as a consumer, where most months when I do this, we're talking about a handful of things that I paid my money for like, I wanted to try it or I wanted to review it for the channel. This one was just a lot more like channel motivated, the purchase, so that's how I had to reflect on it. But I highly recommend, whenever I'm keeping track of what you buy, even if you're not keeping track of what you buy for the monetary amount, so that you can reflect on it later. There is that moment of newness and that moment of hype right after you get a new product, and it's always going to kind of feel worth it immediately after buying it. Even from a content creator's point of view, like, yeah, that's like, oh, it's new, it's like worth it, you know. And then you kind of like a year later, you're like, okay, like, where did I land, like, and how did I land there, and what was that about? So if you are new to my channel and you just stumbled across this video, hi, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. This is the vibe of what I do here. I try to focus on loving my makeup collection as it currently is, without falling into the hype cycle of all of the new makeup releases. That's not to say I don't get PR or I don't buy things for review occasionally, but most of what I'm doing is trying to like dupe things or like reflect on the makeup marketing to see if what I have is going to satisfy that wanting feeling before making the purchase. And that's what I'm trying to help you build the habit of doing too. And nobody's perfect. That's not what I try to promote here. Like, I don't think that we're all going to be perfect navigating this space, but I think it's like nice to have an open dialogue. So I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video, share it with anyone you might think will find it useful or helpful or entertaining. And I'm on Instagram at hautemesstom, and I also have memberships and Patreon. You don't have to join those. Those are completely optional. It's not a better way to support me. It's just a different way to support me. That money gets funneled back into the channel most months, where I buy things or I upgrade equipment or I buy, you know, that's kind of what that gets used for. I do additional content over there. It's varied additional content. You can check it out if you'd like. Thank you to all my current members and patrons. You're the best. And that wraps up the video. Remember to follow your hope and you'll find me. Go forth. It's out.